Recording is important.
You guys are all going to get notifications on your computers. If you can just hit OK, that's great.
Awesome. So last year was a horrible year for me in the business, like my worst year ever in the business. And it beat me up financially pretty bad. So I got really far behind on a lot of things, and I owed about $45,000 in HST at the end of the year. So it's taken me pretty much the entire year to dig out from that monster of a hole, but I finally got there this summer and was able to actually get even a little bit ahead, to the point where I've got this HST bill that I need to pay today. And I actually have the money there to do that, which for the first time in a long time, I've been able to do that. And I really do credit the very simple system of having 4 bank accounts. When the money comes in, it goes into those accounts. It's boring and it's simple and it works. So I appreciate Jen for turning me on to the profit first thing. And it hasn't been easy, let me tell you, because when those checks come in, I'm like, oh man, I could buy a lot of car parts for this $20,000 commission check. But I know that, pardon me, Lindsay, and I know that it's, when you stick to the system, it's not sexy, it's not flashy, and it works.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yep. It's like trying to build your wealth, right? This is not a get rich quick thing. We are not here to make you instant millionaires. That's not the pitch that we have. It's definitely,
But that's my goal, Jen.
But unfortunately, Lindsay, it takes us all a long time to get where we've gotten to, and it takes a while to break habits and make new habits. And so that's why we're here with proven systems that, with intentional money management and having those bank accounts, it really does somehow make your money go further. Like, I know my issue in the last year has obviously been the fact that we have variable rates on multiple properties. And so, especially when it comes to our rental property, you can't go, hey, tenant, pay me an extra $500 because my rent went up $1,000 in the last year, right? So it's been very difficult, but we're very fortunate that, same thing, we run profit first in our rental property. We do have to pull from our HELOC every once in a while just to help float the property. Like it does need a little bit of cash influx once in a while. But the nice thing is, for the most part, the property still keeps itself. And that's one thing that we've really tried to work with, agents and investors on this last year, is just making sure that, if they can refi, they do. Just looking at everything in a way possible. But I think that's where, being so intentional with your money is so important. And I think too, with the fact that we all know, like we all see the fact that, the real estate market's kind of changing. You're still getting offers, but it's a different beast than what it was a year and 2 years ago. And so to help prepare for that, it's nice to get intentional and have multiple bank accounts, so that you're not, when you get that $20,000 check in your bank account, you're like, not like, heck yeah, we're going to Disneyland. It's like, hey, let's put aside the money for the HST. Let's put money in a separate savings account to pay yourself as the business owner. So that, if you do get 2 or 3 months where you don't have a house and you don't have a commission check come in, that's money for you to draw off of.
Yeah, and to touch on Lindsay's point too, I think it would be really nice if we could, jump into the business for 12 months and make a crap ton of money, and then just be like, I'm sitting back on Easy Street now.
Yeah. Some agents do that.
They do, but usually
for a period of time, right?
It usually is not long lasting. To me, this whole thing is very much like our physical health and well-being as well. So if you let yourself go and you're eating at McDonald's every day and you don't exercise, over time, things are going to go bad. And it's the same with our businesses too. It doesn't happen in one day or 1 week. It happens with, one bad day turns into 2 bad days, turns into 2 bad weeks, turns into a couple of bad months. And then the habits are there that allow us to slide. And in order to turn things around, it's the same, right? You can't go to the gym once or twice or eat a couple of salads and be like, oh, I'm healthy again. It doesn't work like that. That's not how our health works. That's not how a healthy business works. So it's doing the right things in small steps over a long period of time. And it sucks and it's painful and it's hard because we don't see the results right away, right? You don't go to the gym, lift a bunch of weights and be like, oh, I'm totally yoked now. This is awesome, right? It's doing the small things over time that are going to add up. You're not going to see a result happen right away. And the same thing has been true with me and what I've done, where I wasn't keeping track of my numbers and my business, and the money was just going here, there, and everywhere. And it was okay because I was making a lot of money and stuff was being covered, but there was no plan. There was no overall, way to divvy up the money and build wealth consistently. So it's taken a long time because I completely screwed things up so badly for so long to right the ship and get things going in the right direction. And now it's very slowly starting to see where I can be like, oh, okay, I can see why this is all starting to come together now. So I think the hardest part of this is the mindset around it.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's so very important to have a community like this where you can come to these calls, talk about what's going on in your life, because I think all too often we allow those bad habits to kick back in, especially when we are super stressed. We're creatures of habit, but we're also emotional creatures. And so oftentimes we react, we're very reactionary in certain circumstances. And so to be able to take a step back and be mindful and bring issues to the group here is so very important. I know I'm very fortunate that I get to talk in a group weekly every Wednesday with North American bookkeepers and accountants. And I know it helps me in my career and it helps me with my clients as well, because you don't know what you don't know. And so it's nice to be able to come here with other people that are in your profession that can share the struggles that you're going through, can give you some suggestions, and really just encourage you through it, because we all have bad days, but eventually we have to stop making excuses and we gotta just do it, right?
Yeah. And you know what? I love that point that you made about stop making excuses. And, it's very easy to just slide into that bad routine and just be like, okay, well, I'll do it tomorrow. Or, the economy sucks. The market sucks. Nobody's buying. Buyers can't get qualified. Like, we can make all these stories in our head to justify why we're not putting in the effort. And at the end of the day, that's not going to pay the bills. And the other thing is, it's not really what's happening out there. I'm a big proponent of business is never good or bad out there. Businesses are good and bad between your ears. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, in Burlington, there are 127 homes that have sold in the month of October. Well, how many commission checks do you need to be able to pay your bills and live the life that you want to live?
127.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at it, it's actually 254 if you really look at it that way, because there's a buy and a sell.
Right.
So, and that's just in Burlington. Hamilton is double that. So now you're talking, there's 700, probably 1,000 commission checks that have been issued between Burlington, Hamilton, Waterdown, Flamborough in the last 30 days. Like 1,000. Come on. How many do you need? I'll give you 500.
All right. Okay. I'll take it.
I'll take 500. No problem.
I'll settle at 500.
They'll settle at 500. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I really do believe that the biggest challenges that we have has nothing to do with interest rates rising or the fact that we had one person that now doesn't qualify or whatever. There's still people buying and selling real estate, which is why I love this business, because it never goes to zero.
Yeah.
Right.
I've had to block out, like, I know it's our job to know what's going on, but I'm tired of hearing about the interest rates and like, oh, this agents will call me and be like, this market's so, it's weird, or it's a bad market. And I'm like, I have had 2 years that have been consistent. So I don't see that, and I don't want to hear it. And I'm tired of hearing it. I even said to an agent in the office, she was like, so what do you think about the interest rate? I'm like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Yeah. I don't want to talk about, like, I'm like, not to be rude, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. I can't change what's going to happen. Yeah. And that's helped me kind of get through, because everybody keeps telling me this market sucks and I haven't seen that yet.
I love this market. Are you kidding me? I think this market is
I've
fantastic.
had no issues so far.
Is
That's
it
awesome.
is it challenging? Yes,
Sure.
absolutely. You know who it's challenging for? It's challenging for the agents that just want to bury their head in the sand and ignore the fact that there's still people out there buying and selling, and it's going to take a little bit more work to get your clients from A to B.
Yeah.
Right? It's no longer put a sign in the ground, hold offers for a week, and there's 18 offers and you get the house sold. It now takes more effort to help your buyers. It takes more effort to help your sellers. And for the people that really are passionate about helping people and care about this business, you are going to work a little harder and you are going to grow your businesses. And when you get to the other side of what's happening right now, your market share is going to grow. Your businesses are going to grow because all the other agents are just going to be like, oh, it's too hard now. So I'm going to go, go get a job.
Yeah. You're so right.
I'm a little fired up today about this. So if I talk really fast and really loud, I'm going to apologize in advance because it really bothers me that so many people mentally check out and just give up. And I really don't want to see that happen for our group of people here.
Yeah. And that's really why we are here, right? Is
Yeah.
excuse me, to help change that statistic, because you guys see it every day, left, right, and center. You see people that are here, they've spent a ton of money and a ton of time getting to where they need to be. And for them to just pack it in when you're like, but if you had just kept working a little harder, just changed up your approach, or even reached out and asked for help, I think that's the biggest difference. I think oftentimes we don't look to ask for help. We feel like maybe we're embarrassed or we should know the answer. Whatever the case is, I promise you that we are all stronger as a community, and we absolutely should be asking questions. It no matter how stupid you may feel, ask the question, because it's the question that you don't ask that often you learn from the most.
100%.
Hey, Mike.
Hey,
how are you doing?
I'm fabulous, Maureen. How are you?
I'm good. Actually, I'm in my new office.
Oh, look at that.
Have
That's so exciting.
furniture's not here yet, but we're in our new office.
Okay, for those of you that don't know who Maureen is awesome and I love her to pieces.
I love you.
So we'll start there. And Maureen is the operating principal that is opening an office in Kingston. Like literally, this is the new office that they just built.
This is the new office.
That's amazing.
And
Congrats.
they are opening and they are ready to kick ass and take names in that part of Ontario. So I am super stoked to see Maureen take this on.
So I may not be here for long because I have a meeting, but I wanted to pop in. You're talking about basically working through a shifting market.
Yes.
In 2007, 2008, I was a fairly new realtor at that point in time. And honestly, those are my best years.
Yeah.
Because I put my blinders on, I ignored all the crap going on outside of, all the news and all the, all the stuff that could impact your mindset. And I kept moving forward. And I went ahead, even though as a new realtor, I think it was my second full year license. And I sold 37 homes that year in 2007 and 46 or 7 in 2008. So put your blinders on, keep it moving forward, and just ignore the stuff. And there's lots of people to help. Regardless, whatever the market is, there's so many people to help. So that's awesome. My 2 bits for today.
So ignorance is bliss.
A little bit of ignorance, smart ignorance is bliss.
I love that, because Maureen, I don't know if you were here a minute ago, but Lindsay was just saying a few minutes ago that she has actually gone out of her way to say to people, like, I don't want to hear about the interest rates anymore. Like, I'm actually okay. Yeah. So I don't know why you're complaining. I love the fact that you brought that up, because I remember the 2006 market crash. I was working for my dad at the time. It was So I love hearing the fact that you just put your blinders on and put your foot to the pedal, and were like, regardless of what anybody else around you was doing, you were like, I'm doing me. So that's
Exactly.
amazing.
Exactly. Okay, I've got to bow out now. I might pop in later,
Okay.
but my brief time here was awesome. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you
Thanks,
for coming
Maureen.
on.
Maureen.
Bye.
Okay, so I think what I would like to talk about just for a couple of minutes here is setting the right goal, because to me, when you set the right goal, that's where everything kind of flows from. Once you have that target, then you can start chipping away at how to get to that point. And for me, I'll give you a little bit of backstory. When I started growing a team and I had administration and I had agents on the team, yes. And I didn't understand how to set the right goals for what the team needed to do and for what I needed to do. And I got to the end of the year and I was like, okay, we just made like $400,000 and I have no money. I'm actually in debt. What the hell just happened? It was awful. And I thought that I was setting the right goals and the right targets. And when I started doing a deep dive and went to sessions like Bold and Gene Rivers' planning or
Business planning.
the business planning seminar, I was like, holy crap, I completely missed the target. So it wasn't that I didn't have the right effort or energy that I was putting into doing the business. I just had completely the wrong target. So, if we look at how to set even just the most basic goals, and I'm a big fan of having really basic plans, because the more simple the plan is, then the better the chance that you're actually going to do it. So let's start off by writing down what your goal is for 2024. And what I would like that to look like is you add up what it costs to run your life on a monthly basis. And let's not get overly complicated here, but let's just use some pretty round numbers. And I'm going to start off by saying I need $10,000 a month just to run my life. This is not my business or anything else. This is just for me to pay my mortgage and make sure my kids have shoes and there's food on the table. I'm just using that number of $10,000. And I'd say that that's probably a pretty common number that most realtors use, right? Is that 100 grand a year is what I need to run my life. So goal, 10 grand. Now, the next thing that we're going to add into that is your taxes, because where we live, we all have to pay taxes, and we get to pay that with our after earned dollars. So let's put in 35% for taxes. I would say that's going to be a fairly accurate number, give or take. So 35% times 10 or 100 grand for the year, that's going to give us $35,000 that we need to allocate for taxes. So this is where having a bank account set up is really handy, because now you can have a bank account that is called personal income taxes. And every time you get a commission check that comes in, you take a portion of that and it goes right into your personal taxes. So that money is saved for the end of the year. So now we have a
Right,
total.
so that gets added into the goal amount.
Correct. Because you have to pay. Yeah, because if you think
That makes
about
sense.
if you add up your costs of living, say your mortgage and your heat, your hydro, and your car payments and your car insurance and all that stuff
Right.
actually equals $10,000 a month, you have to earn that $13,500 a month
Right.
just to cover that, because you have to have that going to your taxes.
Makes sense.
Okay, so we're going to do this like per month, but then translate it to per year.
Okay.
And I'm going to kind of round these numbers a little bit just to make the math really easy and say, it's 100 grand for the year. It's 35,000 because it's 35%. So now if you look at your cost of sales as a solo agent doing business, your cost of sales is going to be what you pay your brokerage for fees, any marketing costs, your cell phone, business cards, you're listing a house for sale and you're doing your photography and maybe you're doing a staging consultation. So I would say that, and I've been tracking my numbers pretty good for the last couple of years, and I'm in and around the 20-ish%. So I would say let's allocate 25% that is going to go to your cost of sales. So now if you take that $135,000 and you multiply that by 25% for cost of sales, that gives you a number that's $33,750. So we're going to round that number up as well, because we always round up when we're doing these numbers. And that gives you another $35,000 that you need to earn to cover your cost of sales. All right, is everybody seeing where this is coming from? Okay.
Yes.
So now we take our $135,000 that we need to earn, which is our 100 grand plus the 35,000 for personal income tax, and we add another $35,000, which is your cost of sales. We're now at $170,000. I feel this is one of the biggest mistakes that businesses make, and especially realtors make, is they say, well, I need $10,000 to live, so I'm going to go make 100 grand. And then at the end of the year, they're like, holy shit, I have no money to pay my taxes. I can't pay my bills. Where did all my money go?
Yeah.
This simple thing right here is the number one thing that people get wrong. And I got wrong for years. So I set the wrong target because I was like, well, I need to make this amount of money. That's what I'm going to make. And it's incredible how the human brain, once you identify a target, you get fixated on that and you put everything in the path to make that happen. And that's what you do. And sometimes even subconsciously where you're like, oh, I'm going to sell 100 houses a year, right, Lindsay? But
Sure am.
But in the back of your head, you're like, yeah, but I only need like $5 grand a month to pay my bills.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, if I can share, because I was doing a guesstimation on my expenses with the taxes and with all that you added in. And that's about what I make per year. So I think I need to start thinking a little bit bigger, but that's about what I've done for the last 2 years.
Wow.
That's really interesting. So it really, really spot on with that. And one thing I will tell you guys too is oftentimes I've worked with agents that are top 1%ers. Sorry, that is my dog crying because I'm not paying attention to her. So we're gonna it's her birthday. We're gonna say happy birthday, Lily. It's her birthday.
Happy birthday, Lily.
But anyways, like I've definitely worked with agents that earn 7 figures, and especially when you get to a point where you're adding a team, as Michael knows, it can get very expensive very fast. And so oftentimes you're in this revenue trap of like, one more commission check, one more commission check, one more commission check, and then I'll be okay. And then the credit card will be paid off, and then this will be paid off. And what happens is that you end up further in debt, and then you get a TRE advance, and then you end up paying fees on that. I know. And so don't necessarily get caught in that trap. It absolutely can be. If you need that 100,000, again, more like 170,000, like Michael said. But once you realize that you have those numbers, that's where getting intentional with your money is so important. So that you can focus on, for example, if you're regularly transferring from your income account into your owner's pay account or your operating expense account, you quickly learn when you're paying your bills where you can and can't afford things. And that's really nice. So it's really cool when you go to pay a bill and you're like, I don't have any money in the bank account for that. I have clients that I'm able to prepay their taxes because they have money put aside. I save my tax money every Friday. I always allocate all my money out to all my accounts. Every Friday, I take 4% of whatever's in my income account, and that goes towards my tax bill at the end of the year. That way I don't feel the pinch so bad, right? So I'm not having to shell out $5,000, $6,000 out of a bank account all at once. And when I do, I've prepaid for it for the whole year.
Yeah.
Welcome to all of our new members here.
The other thing that's interesting too, when you start doing the thing with the accounts, is when you have a great idea or an opportunity is presented to you and you just have one bank account that's got, thousands of dollars in it, and somebody says, hey, here's this really great thing you should invest in, or it's going to really help your business. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I got this money sitting there. I'm just going to go ahead and spend it. And then you're like, oh, shoot, now I can't pay my taxes. So the thing about having the multiple accounts is it makes it much easier to make those decisions when you see these opportunities. And I just had one presented to me recently, and it's like $8,500, and I really want to do this. I don't have the money. So it made it very easy for me to say no. And it also makes it easy for me to say, okay, if I want to invest in this thing that I think is a really good idea, it's going to be $8,500. However, I need to make 3 times that in order to pay for that, because I know that it's not just making the $8,500. It's that I need the excess of those deals to equal the 30%, to equal the $8,500. So I need to actually make like $25,000, $30,000, right? So that I can still pay my taxes. I can still do all those other things, because if I just take the $8,500 that comes in and it all goes towards that one thing, I then have made that $8,500, but I still have to pay HST. I still have to pay taxes. I still have to pay all my cost of sales. Like I still have to do all those things. So whenever you have something that you would like to invest in, whether it's, personally or for your business, you really need to make 3 to 4 times that in order to be able to justify investing that money. And for me, like that was such a huge mind shift. And like, even in my own personal life, when you start breaking it down and you realize for every dollar that is earned, you actually get to spend about 25 cents.
Yeah, we had this epiphany via email like last week. It was like, hang on a minute. It's like, this is like, what the heck, guys?
I know
But
Jen
it's
sent me
true.
my statement and said, hey, by the way, you owe $13,000 in HST. I was like, she said, do you have any questions? I said, yeah, where the hell did all my money go?
And my response was, go look at your bank statement.
Yeah.
Because
Typical
unfortunately, it is
bookkeeper.
true. Like at the end of the year, you show this profit and loss, on a financial statement, but that is not indicative of what is actually in your bank account, because that money has already been spent and gone elsewhere. And so to be intentional with your money is so very important.
So I want to jump back to this whole goal thing. So this was my breakdown on it. So you start off with your 100K goal. You're adding 35% because that's going to pay your personal income taxes when you collect that money, right? And then you multiply that by the 25% that it takes for you to run your business, and gives you that $170,000. So really, to me, if you want to have $100,000 to live off of every year, you need to earn 170 as a business. I'm just curious to know, and I want to open it up to the floor. Who has ever actually thought about their target in that way?
Somewhat. Like in the last couple of years, it's starting to register. I hadn't achieved it yet, but I was thinking like, I've got to make double what I want to get where I need to be, or so. Yeah. But it's a new thought after 8 years of being in the business.
That's a good thought, though. It just shows that you're
growing. There.
Yes. Growing. That's what's important. Again, we're all creatures of habit. We all start this journey off at one place. And it's amazing what the information that you accumulate over the course of your career. So what you didn't know 8 years ago, you're now very mindful of and very aware of. And you're choosing to get out of your own way. And you're like, hey, regardless how much it may hurt me to try and grow through this, I'm going to ask for help, and I'm going to ask for support, because you know that with that help and support, you're going to do much better things.
Yeah. And really, to me, this is like the simplest business plan that you could ever write. And it's like 5 lines on a piece of paper, right? And if you can just understand this one thing, I guarantee you it's going to completely change how you approach planning your business.
And on that too, I would say when it comes to goal setting, make your goals personal. I sat there and I'm like, I want $1 million. And with one of my business coaches, I sat down and I was like, I want this $1 million. And she kept asking why. I'm like, so I can travel. And she's like, aren't you already going to Italy this year? Oh yeah. Well, so I can this. Well, aren't you already buying rental properties? Oh yeah. And so I'm already doing things that I want to do. Again, I just have to be intentional with time and money. And I want to go to England, Ireland, and Scotland. I thought it was going to be 2024. Cursed retail or real estate right now, it's going to be 2025, but that's okay, because you know what, I'm intentionally taking steps towards savings for it. And for me, that's a goal that really matters. $1 million in a bank account was an arbitrary number that had no personal meaning for me. And so I love the example that Michael gave, because that just shows this is what I need to live off of. That's not even you trying to be ambitious and be like, let's go for $1 million. It's just like, what do I need to live, right? And it's just a very frank look at where you need to go, and that's a jumping off point, right? So that's a starting point for us, and then we go further from there, which is awesome.
Yeah, and honestly, I've run into the trap of programming my brain to earn exactly what I need just to get by. Right?
Apparently, that's a real thing. I just learned that. That's
It really
crazy
is.
to me. My mind is blown, just so you know. Thank you.
And there's nothing wrong with that if that's your goal in life. If your goal in life is, I just want to make sure my bills are paid, and there's a little bit so I can do this one thing or do that thing, then that's totally okay. If you want to do bigger things and you want to live a bigger life because that's what you would like to do, it's totally possible inside the world of real estate. You could earn $500,000 a year as a solo agent. It's totally doable. There's tons of people out there doing it. Yeah. So I agree with Jen. You've got to start with why, right? So if the why is, you want to travel more, or maybe your why is, you've got family members who need help, and you are now going to buy a property and have them live in it, and you're going to subsidize them living there because they need that help. Maybe you've got elderly parents who are sick and you want to put them into a better care facility rather than, a crappy one, because you want to see them live a great quality end of life. Those are really awesome reasons that will get you out of bed every day, and you can include in your plan and say, okay, well, instead of $100,000 a year, I now need $150,000 a year because that care facility is $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
So then just go back through your numbers again and say, okay, my target is no longer $100,000. It's now $150,000. And you're going to reprogram your brain to say, that's now my minimum standard because these are the priorities in my life. And I think until you reprogram your brain, you're going to seek out this equilibrium thing where you're going to say, well, okay, I drive an okay car. My bills are paid. Yeah, I don't have a lot of extra money, but I'm not under pressure and things are okay.
I think the key in that, for me at least, and what I've learned over the last 2 years, also, I don't know if this is an open conversation or not, so tell me to stop talking at any point.
It is wide open.
Anybody is welcome to hop off mute at any point and interject. We welcome it.
Okay, sounds good. But yeah, so I always set those goals of like, I want to take care of my family, but I wasn't taking care of me first. Whereas this sets me up for my needs first, and then you add in the additional items, which is huge, because as much as I love my family with everything I've got, it was not enough to drive me still to do what I needed to do, because I wasn't taking care of like my baseline at a minimum. So that's huge.
And I got goosebumps.
I do too.
Me too.
That's a huge revelation. And I would agree with you. I think we all need a little more self-care. We all need to make sure our own buckets are full before we can help fill other people's buckets. It's really hard when your own cup is full or empty, right? To help fill somebody else's. So what a great thing for you to share, Lindsay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just had a conversation with somebody the other day, and it really made me look at things differently, because for years I've been saying you can't pour from an empty pitcher. So I kept thinking, oh, I have to fill my pitcher so that I can pour into other people's cups around me, because I love helping other people. Nothing makes me feel better than helping other people around me.
Mhm.
And the person stopped me and said, I think you're wrong, because if you focus on just filling your pitcher and then you go around and fill everybody else's cups, guess what? Your pitcher is empty again.
Mhm.
What you need to do is you need to make sure that you're filling other people's cups because your pitcher is overflowing.
Mhm.
And
like that.
I never thought about it that way. And I have been really, really bad at taking care of myself. And I see how that has impacted the people around me, because I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, I don't have the resources to help those people. And it really pisses me off now that I'm becoming aware of this. So I'm making changes to make sure that I'm in a better position to make sure that my pitcher is always full and overflowing.
I love that. And I think that, Michael, I think that for you, it shouldn't piss you off. It should, maybe it's okay to piss you off, but I think too, you should be happy at the fact that you are mindful and had this revelation, because I think all too often we stay in the same minutia, right? We expect to stay on the hamster wheel, but something for it to randomly change, just like walking into real estate and getting 100 deals your first year, like it takes work, and you can't just expect somebody to do it for you. It's anybody that is on my Facebook page knows that I share my weight loss journey too. And so I've recently just shared that I've lost 131 pounds today. That takes like a lot of effort. Thank you. But I share that with you because it's small habit changes. Like I love Profit First, actually, because it talks about having a big, Thanksgiving meal or a big Christmas meal, right? And eating all that gluttonous stuff. We look at breaking everything down into smaller plate sizes, right? So instead of having our big Thanksgiving meal on this ginormous plate, we break it down into smaller plates. And so we eat our good things first. We encourage everybody to have their fruits and vegetables and fill their cups. Like Michael said, you can't pour from an empty pitcher. And so how we help you through that is by being intentional and really helping you fill those bank accounts with the money in whatever goals matter to you. If you were like, hey, I want to live in a mansion, let's help you get intentional and live in a mansion. If you're cool living where you live and you're cool driving a 10-year-old car, everybody's goals are very different and there's no right or wrong answer. But again, if we can go back and tie those goals to things that are going to motivate us and regularly check in, that's what's really going to help push us forward to help fill our own cups so that we can get to a point where we do help fill others. And again, it's small habit changes all at once. And I love the fact that, I feel like some days, like yesterday, I'm helping out at my son's school dance today. So like right after this, I got to go run, put a costume on and go and do all that. So like yesterday, my cup was empty. It was just like I had been running around for like 9 hours yesterday. But last night, my son gave me a big hug before bed. I'm going to cry. But like, he's like, thank you so much for like making my day awesome today, And so for me, that helped bring my cup up. And so it's amazing that I can turn around and do things like this. That as annoying as it is to hear all these kids screaming, it's so much fun to know that I'm helping out and I can help fill their cup and they fill my cup just in return, So sorry, I don't mean to like get emotional, but anyways, cups happen in all shapes and sizes.
I think that's part of why we have this group, Jen, and it's to share the victories and share the struggles and everything in between, because I mean, life is hard, business is hard. I think, the challenge that we have with social media is everybody's posting all this wonderful stuff that, makes it look like it's all wonderful and easy.
Oh yeah, like everybody's winning but you.
Yeah, exactly. And, sometimes we get really hard on ourselves, and, this group helps me in so many ways because, we talk about how, we have all these challenges and struggles, and we also have these great moments that happen along the way as well. And that's normal. That's what people are going through. We all have challenges and difficulties and struggles, and that's part of what makes it fun, is when you have these days where you're like, oh fuck, I just can't do this anymore. Like, my pitcher doesn't even exist, and it's going to take a gallon just for it to get to zero. And then, your kid runs up and hugs you and says, thank you so much. And you're just like, oh my God, this is why.
What you're doing it for.
Yeah. Or, you get a client who's like in a shit situation, and you feel like you're the one that's just helped dig them out of this. And they, say thank you and give you a big hug. And like, it's the most incredible thing. So, living for those moments, and, we have the potential to change people's lives in what we're doing. And it's either the people that we live with and care about, or it's the clients that we work with. It's a pretty awesome position to be in.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think that keeping that in mind is really, really hard in this business. We get to deal with a lot of people's shit in this business. I get a lot of phone calls every week, as I'm sure everybody does. And they're like, oh my God, this is happening. Why isn't my house selling? I have to get a divorce and now I need to move, and we just moved into this house. Or, we're having another kid and we need a bigger house, but we can't afford it. Like, there's a lot of negative stuff that happens in this business, and people call us, I would say 9 times out of 10, and it's not positive news or positive conversation. And Steve and I talk about this kind of thing a lot, where, how do you be in this business and help people, and you're able to keep a positive mindset when there's so much negativity that's just like firing at you all the time? I find this group to be so helpful with that. I don't know what other strategies you all have, but I try to go work on my cars when I can, because for me, that's like, there's no kids stuff, there's no business stuff. I put in my music that I like to listen to, or a nice positive podcast or Audible book, and just go out there for a couple of hours. And to me, that's a great way to put water in my pitcher. I don't know. What do you guys do?
Yeah, I'd love to hear from other people about what you do to help fill your pitcher.
I've talked a lot. I don't.
Maybe we're going to pick on somebody else and make them open up here a little bit. And it's not bad. Like, I think one thing that I started to do, and I really do need to get back more into, is just doing a real simple 3 things of gratitude every day. And especially when, like, you should do it when things are good, and you should especially do it when things are not so good.
Yeah.
I'll share a very interesting story. So just over 5 years ago, my mom passed away. And I remember getting the phone call at 9:15 in the morning. And, I'm sitting there and obviously very upset and sad about what had happened. And about 10 minutes after I got that phone call, my buddy Chris Knighton called me. And for those of you that don't know Chris Knighton, he's pretty awesome in a lot of avenues. Like, he kills it in real estate, but he's really good about mindfulness stuff too. And you should follow him on Facebook, because he posts a lot of really great videos and content there. And he called me and he's like, hey dude, what's going on? I said, well, 10 minutes ago, my mom passed away, so I'm having a pretty tough day. And he's like, yeah, I totally get that. Give me 3 things you're grateful for. I was like, what? And it just completely snapped my mindset. And I said, well, I'm grateful that I had such a fantastic mom. And I'm grateful that she lived to see her grandkids. Whew. And it completely changed my frame of mind in that moment, from dipping into like a really bad space to being grateful. And my third thing of gratefulness was, I'm grateful to have a friend like Chris who reminds me of these things from time to time. So I think that's a great strategy. When you think things are not going well and you're having challenges, just remember to find 3 things to be grateful for. And it could be like the most simple things. You live in a country where you walk over to a tap and you open it out and drinking water comes out, safe water that you can drink. right? You walk over to the wall and you flip on a switch and you have electricity.
Ironically, last night when I was driving from Hagersville to Ancaster just to go to buy more glow sticks, at 7 o'clock at night, I was cursing just the day. And I stopped myself and I actually said aloud, it was funny because my son was in the back who's 7 and he's like, okay. But I literally just started talking to myself and I was like, I'm grateful for the trees around me. I love seeing nature. I'm grateful for the sun, or well, at that point it was the moon, but still, I randomly will just say aloud as I'm driving, I'm grateful for this and I'm grateful for this. And it's sometimes it overwhelms me just being on a beautiful drive. And I feel like if I say it aloud and throw it out to the universe, then even if I haven't written it down that day, that I feel better. And I love the fact that Michael, you shared, like, thank you for sharing such a, I mean, I'm going to cry again myself, like, oh my gosh, like, but thank you for sharing such an emotional story. But what an amazing thing to have someone like that in your life that can turn around and talk to you in that way and just remind you that even though you're going through something so very devastating, there are also good things that you have in your life as well. So what an important mindset shift that is, to remind you in those bad days, because hey, like, we all have shit days. I've had days in the past where I'm like, fuck everybody, fuck everything, I'm done, I don't want to do anything. Because same thing when it comes down to bookkeeping, I also get shit on a lot. It often is, well, it's the bookkeeper's fault, and
Where the hell did all my money go, Jen?
Yeah. I don't know, go ask somebody else on the call. No, it's but it is hard when you get that all the time. People don't usually enjoy calling their bookkeeper and go, man, my P&L's amazing, where can I spend all this money? So we're in the similar business, just different situation. And so it's nice to be able to come to calls like this. Yeah. And be able to share and it's okay. I know it's a safe space. I know it's okay for me to tear up and get emotional because I know that nobody's gonna judge me for it and walk away and go, oh my gosh, you see Jen crying on the call. No, we're here to support each other and lift each other up. And it's between goal setting and money and it just, life is just crazy. And so to know that you have a supportive group here, this is really why Michael and I want to just build this community out more and more.
Yeah, I think another thing to think about too, and I know this has really helped me in moments where you're like kind of tipping into that negative space, is changing my internal language around things. And so here's an example. This past weekend, my daughter had a dance, not a competition, but it was anyways, we were in downtown Toronto. It was a conference or whatever. And it was like all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And my task was to get her there on time and spend the day with her. And I know we've got a lot going on here. And if I was to tip into that negative space, I would start thinking, oh, I have to drive my daughter to Toronto. I have to drive her to this convention. I have to spend my weekend doing this. And that would just like bring me down into a negative thing. And changing the language and saying, I get to drive Maddie to her competition. I get to drive her to Toronto. I get to spend time with her. I completely reframed my thinking around the time that I spent with her. And we had the best weekend. We had so much fun together. I got to spend hours and hours in the car with her, having great conversations that would never have happened otherwise if we were just hanging around the house. So, reframing your internal language, I think, is also a really great tool to say, okay, I'm going to catch myself because there's all this negative shit going on in my life. And, I have these clients that are calling me, I have to help this client with this problem. I have to help this shit situation get better. Change that dialogue to, I get to change this client's situation for the better. I get to work with this client, because there's a lot of agents out there right now that would kill to have one client to work with.
Yeah.
So to me, like, even just those two simple strategies to get through all the negative shit, What 3 things are you grateful for? Do that every morning when you wake up. When you open your eyes and you're just like, first thought in your head, okay, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for the fact that I woke the fuck up today. Right? I'm grateful for the fact that I'm smelling daisies and not pushing them. I'm grateful for the fact that I live in a country where I can have a business that makes $1 million a year. I'm grateful for the fact that I woke up this morning and I'm inside a house and not getting rained on out in a park somewhere. Just even starting the day with those little things is going to start pumping like dopamine into your system and all the good feel good chemicals into your brain. So what if some jackass cuts you off on the way to the office? Maybe they're on their way to the hospital because their partner's dying, or like, you have no idea. Don't put their crap onto you and let them ruin your day. So I really do believe that that's a great strategy. Change your internal dialogue to, I get to work with these clients. I get to help these customers. I get to control my business and my life. And think about gratitude.
Mm-hmm. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Does anybody else have a strategy or something that they do that they feel helps them stay positive? I don't do it yet, but I hear a lot of people like to exercise.
I figured out the eating right part. Exercise. I like walking. Walking is good for me.
There
So
you go. So taking the dogs for a walk.
It's a good
that's
one.
right. Forcing
think it
my
was-
son to go for a walk.
Wasn't it Sasha that said, just take the dog for a walk, even if you don't have a dog, just go walk the dog every day, walk the dog.
Yeah.
I think it was him a long time ago. I think that's who said it to me. I might be wrong, but either way, the sentiment is there.
That's fantastic. I like that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of good things that happen when you go for a walk for an hour, right? It's the physical thing, but I think mentally too. I used to have a dog, and every time I took Cohen out for a walk, I would have the best creativity.
A nice way to detach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it because I just put music on my headphones and just go. It's nice. It just quiets my brain. And same thing, I definitely will stop. Actually, sometimes I'll stop and take notes because if I'm on the walk and I'm like, oh yeah, and I don't want to clutter up my brain by thinking about it too much during the walk. So I'll take a moment and take some notes and keep walking. It's so nice. But yeah, I would love to hear from other people how you get through, or how you goal set, or anything that we've talked about today.
I get through with therapy weekly, and I know it's not something that everybody has the ability to do. I pay for it. I've paid for it for 2.5 years, and it's been every week pretty much for that entire period of time.
Kudos to you.
And what it does is I'm doing some more extensive work, but also gives me perspective, and I can speak to a third party about all of the BS, and just like, I speak so freely with her. She now knows me. She's my best friend. I pay my best friend, guys. Like, I get to vent and say crazy things that I wouldn't say to anybody else. Not crazy, but I feel crazy sometimes saying them. And she doesn't judge me, and she just gives me perspective. And then I've learned from that to talk about stuff versus bottle it up. And that's another big piece of things. So finding a safe space to let it out, because we all need to. That's what keeps me going.
God, I am so proud of you, Lindsay.
Thank
You
you.
have no idea.
Thank you.
I've known Lindsay now for
10 years.
10 years. We've known each other for 10 years. So we've been through some stuff together, her and I. And to see where Lindsay is at now, it's inspiring.
No, I'm gonna cry.
Oh, that's amazing.
I wasn't
But
sure I
again,
came here to
kudos
cry.
you for putting yourself first. I saw Cheryl come off mute, and I saw Dorothy come off mute as well. So I would love to hear from one of you ladies.
I do the opposite. I find that just with this business, we're constantly out there talking to people all the time and trying to see how many people we talk to. That for me, I'm an introvert, even though I do a job that's probably more suited for extroverts. I need to recharge, so I need to be alone and recharge my battery, and just music does it for me. So when I know the condo's empty and nobody else is here, then it's just me alone with my thoughts, my music, and try and recharge that way so that I can get up and do it again and go out there and be pleasant and happy and cheerful and do all the things that I need to do to get more clients.
I'm curious to know, thank you, first of all, for sharing that. And do you actually schedule that into your time? Like, do you have a time block where you're like, okay, this is my me time?
I wouldn't say I schedule it. I almost know when it's starting to happen though. I know when I need it. I know when my cup's empty. I got no more to give. I give a lot to my family, my friends, to my clients, to the brokerage. I try and give a lot and put myself out there. So I know now, I recognize it more, that I know when I'm running on empty. And so instead of letting it get empty to the point that I can't, it's much harder to bounce back from, I go and recharge and just say, I need my alone time. I need to fill my cup back up with, and I'm grateful for, and all those things, they do help me.
Oh, good.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love that. And I think something to pay attention to is your body and your mind when it's telling you, like, okay, we got to pump the brakes here. We got to make some changes. And sometimes it's just a 5-minute thing. Sometimes it's, a couple of hours. Sometimes you need a whole day.
Yep.
Right. And I think when you actually schedule those things into your day and your week and your month or whatever it is, then number one, it gives you something to look forward to and say, okay, like, I got a day ahead of me. I know it's going to be a tough day. However, I know tomorrow I've cleared my schedule. I'm hanging out with my friends or doing whatever it is that is going to fill you up. It can give you that thing to move towards, right? I think the other thing too is you also need to sometimes have an end date and time to the me time, because I know for myself, I would spend 5 days a week in the shop, not talking to anybody, not doing any of my business, because that's my happy space. However, at some point you've got to say, hey, I've got to also get back to this other thing, because I know that's what's going to grow my business. So it's like this, like you're back and forth and you're back and forth. I think having it like a start time and an end time is an important part of that. Does that make sense?
It does. It's also that balance, because I think I've learned in this that before I would just give and give and give and give until it was gone. And then I found that the recharge took a lot longer for me to get back to. Whereas now, I guess you could say I schedule it where I recognize the signs that I'm draining very quickly. And so I say, no, I need to go have some me time here. And you're right. Sometimes it's an hour and that's it. And I'm like, I'm good. I can go back out there and do it again, because I don't let it get empty. I don't let it get to the point where I'm just so done that I can't get back on that.
Did you ever feel guilt around taking time off? Because that's what I'm struggling with. Like,
Huge.
yeah.
I was actually just going to ask that question.
Huge. Because
Yeah.
because it's foreign to me to take care of me. It's my nature to want to help and take care of everyone around me. And I feel good when I take care of people around me. So I've always, that's how I fill my cup, is by helping others. And
Guilty. I'm 100% guilty of that too. And I had somebody, I don't know if I read this or somebody said this to me, and they said, self-care is not being selfish.
right.
Yes.
And that really, really hit me hard, because I feel like I'm speaking for the group here when I say, when you feel like you're taking time for yourself, you feel like you're being selfish, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't be reading a book or doing this other thing. I should be cooking and cleaning and doing laundry and helping my clients and doing all this other stuff. And we keep going and keep going at this pace to the point where we're like, okay, now we have a cold or we're sick, and now we're shut down for like a week because we've gone so far and we burnt ourselves so intensely that we now need a very large amount of time to get back to that place again.
Yeah.
And it's a very vicious cycle that I find people that are people pleasers and people that want to see other people successful suffer from. And I think that the biggest opportunity for us is to get over that idea that self-care means we're being selfish, because it's not.
Exactly.
I
And
agree.
sometimes we have to let the people around us know that,
Mhm.
because we've basically conditioned the people around us to expect that we're going to take care of everything.
Yeah.
They do.
Right?
Right.
We're going to make the lunches and the breakfast, and we're going to do the dishes and do the laundry, and we're going to take care of all their problems, and they can call us with all the negative garbage and just dump on us, and we're going to make it all okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And we also need them to understand that sometimes we need a little bit of space so that we can recharge to handle all that.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me, do you ever say no to anything? And I realized I didn't.
Wow.
Like, yep, no matter what, I'll say, sure, I'll help you, because they ask. And I never took into consideration what I needed to do. I would just say, yep, of course I'll help you. So when I think that was the beginning of it for me, was somebody asking me that, do you ever say no? Like, I was like, no, I don't. I always say yes.
Hopefully then that means that you've been more mindful since that someone has said something to you about saying no more often. I think too, as business owners and as parents and things like that, we're so conditioned a certain way to just keep going and keep going and keep going. And so to be mindful in those moments when you are aware that your cup is starting to drain to past that, that comfort level, it is important to kind of check out and go do you for a while. I know I get my lashes done. I will go for a massage once every couple of weeks. And I feel guilty about it, but I also am like, it's in my schedule. And so too bad, so it's in my schedule. So it's like, I have to go do it because it's in my schedule. I'm a huge time blocker. Everything I do in my life is in my calendar. And so knowing that I intentionally set those appointments is important for me, because I'm not, not somebody that goes to the spa or the salon very often or anything. So for me, those are small self-care things that I do that I love for myself. And I just get to go and be me for an hour, which is really, really awesome. And then by the time I come back, my cup is full and I'm ready to start the day again. It's awesome. And there's no right or wrong answer here. It's whatever you derive pleasure from, whatever you're going to be able to do, whether it's saying no, whether it's saying yes, there's no right or wrong answer here. So I think that's wonderful. Pretty.
Okay, I'm a car guy, so I'm going to relate this back to car stuff.
Okay.
So if you go out and buy a brand new car and you put gas in it and you drive it, that's fine. And how long do you think that car is going to serve you and last if you don't change the oil, you don't repair the brakes, you don't replace the tires when they become bald? And we do this to ourselves all the time, right? This is what self-care is. It's not being selfish. It's maintaining yourself so that you can serve for a longer period of time and be more efficient and effective when you're helping other people. And I think, when I started to understand that, do I practice it perfectly? Not even close. However, I am more aware of it, and I do let people around me know. I'm like, hey, I need a time off. Like I need a time out. I can't keep going at this pace the way I'm going, or I'm going to be out for like weeks because I need some maintenance.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a societal pressure, and like how a lot of us in the age range that we are were brought up also. And it's rewiring our brains to give us that. And nothing against the previous generation that, worked hard and stayed at the same job and did all these things that like provide for the family and do nothing for yourself. Like that's not the healthy way to do it.
Yep.
And so if we can, and I think we're all very lucky if we've been able to shift our minds in that and realize that there's a different way to do it, because we all deserve that. Everybody does. And it's such a hard thing because there are people out there that will push back or give you a hard time for taking care of yourself, because they haven't broken out of that, or that's how they were taught or how they saw it. And that's just, your expectation is put on you by ourselves with our own experience, but then also other people, right? And that's what I've learned about a lot of things, and like breaking the cycle of how we grew up and the messaging that we received. And again, it's nothing against anybody of that generation. That's what they knew.
That's how they were
That-
brought up.
That's how they taught us. And I think about, I reference that to what you said about being angry, Michael, or pissed off at yourself. Like, you are an amazing, kind human at the core, and to be angry about that for yourself is sad to hear. And if you can just rewire and say, like, I'm going to take that core amazing compassion for myself as well, then it's going to be amazing, right? And we deserve it.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that we are all our own worst enemies, and it's funny how we treat everybody with a different amount of respect than we treat ourselves. Like, if you were to take yourself and pull it out of you and put it beside you, you'd be like the worst jerk ass friend to yourself in the world. Like, you would
I'd fire me.
friends with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is like, a mindset is so very important in this. It helps you grow. It helps you kind of get out of your own way. I think all too often people don't want to change it, but I think it's wonderful that everyone here seems so very mindful of everything that they are doing, and realizing that in order for you to be able to grow in your career, you do kind of have to learn how to get out of your own way and reframe yourself or reframe your thinking. And you're right. I grew up with a single mom who was like, I don't have time for you. I have to go to work. Like, you need to figure this out on your own. And so I grew up thinking asking for help was a bad thing. And so for me, I really reframed that mindset over the last couple of years. And I'm like, I will ask for help for anything now. I try not to struggle as much as possible. I'm like, I'm over this shit. I don't want to struggle anymore, you know? Dorothy, I had seen you come off mute, and I know you had to kind of go off camera for a minute. I'd love to hear your comments though.
Yes, so what I wanted to say is that I started to actually waking up early, like 5:30 a.m.
Wow.
I do work out, but 15 minutes is all I can do.
That's better than 0 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, and what I do is I write. I write my goals each day. I write my affirmations, and that keeps me going at least for half a day. And just like Sharon, I do see that in the middle of the day, I do need to lay down and just stop for 15 minutes. Just put on some good music and relax. So that's what I do with my day. And then everybody comes home, and I'm a mom and the wife, and the real life again starts, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I do.
That's wonderful though, that you take the time to be intentional. So like, for anybody here, like, I love talking about time blocking. Anybody knows me knows that I live by my calendar. So I would be intentional, and I would absolutely put that 15 minutes in my calendar every afternoon. I would even make sure I picked out the music ahead of time. I think that's wonderful that you know that 15 minutes of just quiet and listening to music will help you recharge for the afternoon. So kudos to you for being mindful and being intentional in that way.
Thanks.
That's wonderful.
Man, what a crazy session today this has been.
Yeah, I did not think we would be coming into today so emotional. I love this though. This is wonderful. Yeah. Preeti, I'd love to hear from you. Is there something you'd like to share?
Hi, yeah, absolutely. I was waiting for my turn actually, but there was so much good to hear from everyone. So when I started real estate, my mindset was totally different. Totally. I had no idea what I'm getting into. This is 2.5 years, no idea. I learned a lot of things from all the people around me. And the one thing that I realized, that you say you're talking about time blocking, this is the one thing that I have learned in this industry, because every day everything changes, people change, career change, but there's one thing which never changes: 24 hours a day. How much I can do in one day. I have 2 young kids. And it happens all the time. If my son is sick, my 7 days is like running around, doctors, everything, it's gone. My commitments are compromised, right? So, and I realized in like few months back that my health conditions is also getting compromised. So this is the best way that I also started waking up early. This is the rule that I made during the summer vacations when my kids were sleeping. So I have more me time for myself. That was a big push for me because everybody wants to sleep late, right? But I started waking up 5:30, the yoga time, meditation, and it really, really helped me out. And I started, yeah, thanks. And
Wow,
I
that's
started
amazing.
actually being thankful to myself that I have the capability to do everything for my family, my friends. I'm always there to help them out. But at one point, my cup is also empty. I need to find my corner. And sometimes my car is my corner where I'm just listening my podcast, finishing my book, because these are the two things I look forward for it. And it's not only about real estate, it's about I listen to decluttering, mindset, how do I make myself calm, healthy eating habits, a lot of things. I'm a vegetarian, so always focus on the the good part of being vegetarian. But yeah, and there are so many things that you have to do in one day. It's like a task which never finishes. I have stopped complaining to myself or feeling guilty if I'm not able to finish that task in that day. This is one thing. I don't want to do that because I want to live my life happily rather than just finishing tasks. So I think yeah, it really changed my mind. I'm very thankful to all the people that I met and I learned every day. I was reading the book One Thing, it really helped me out.
Yeah.
I started focusing because it was like my mind was decluttered all the time. You have to do this, you have to answer this call, you have to make your calls, you have to reach there on time, single-handedly, independent. You can't do everything. And then once your kids are back, it's like I'm doing a part-time job.
Hmm.
After the school, there are a lot of things happening, but now I'm settling down. I'm more calm. I started listening more and learning more.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I love that you're reading the book, The One Thing. There's a lot of things I love about that book, and I'm just going to share a quick experience that relates back to that. So when I had a team on the go, and I had, a couple of uh people that were doing all the office stuff and a couple of buyer agents, and it imploded in pretty spectacular fashion about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember when that happened, I was reading the book, The One Thing, and they talk about the focusing question, which is, what can I do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And I really thought about that as I was kind of reevaluating the business and my life and all these other things. And I really thought about what my priorities should be, rather than, I got caught up in, well, I'm going to grow a business and a team because that's what other people are doing. And that's what the book says you're supposed to do. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not spending time with my family. I don't have the money I thought I was going to have. I'm going in a completely different direction and different path. So when all that happened, I basically created 2 questions to help guide where I was going to go. And it was, anytime that there was something asked of me or there was an opportunity, I gauged it against, is this going to put money in my pocket in the next 6 months? And is this going to give me time with my family? That
That's
was it.
very true.
Just those 2 things. And I was doing a lot of training and coaching, and I was on the ALC, and I was doing like other crap outside of work and building a house, and my kids were little. Like, it was chaos. And when I started using those 2 questions to focus what I was putting my energy into, there was this incredible sense of calm that happened. And when people asked me a question and they wanted something from me, I said, okay, does this put money in my pocket or give me time with my family? And I would actually say to them, listen, I'm focusing my life on these 2 areas. And as much as I would love to do this with you or help you with this, it doesn't meet that criteria. So I'm not saying I can't do it ever. I just can't do it right now. And as soon as I said that to people, they're like, oh, okay. And there was like this respect for answering them in that way. And also they understood what my priorities were. And
And
it also,
boundaries.
exactly, setting those
I love
boundaries.
that word.
But then it also, like this funny thing with this reticular activating system that we have in our brains, when I started telling myself that story, all of a sudden everything changed and all these opportunities started coming into my life that were giving me more time with my family and allowing me to earn more income. It's incredible when you use that focusing question to help you set your priorities.
I would completely agree. You know, like for good example, some current situation that was brought to me. I was given the opportunity to do more coaching for the accounting and bookkeeping groups that I'm doing in a higher capacity, and I actually turned them down. And I actually said, you know, thanks, but I'm kind of doing this. I'm developing my own thing with Michael, and this matters more to me than that right now, you know. And so I had to say no, and it was a lucrative opportunity. I get paid a lot of money every hour to do that stuff, but for me it matters more that I'm carving out my own path. And so I had to realize, like you said, that I'm so conditioned to saying yes all the time that I've overcommitted myself with my son's school. You know, it's but I have something has to give, and you only have a certain amount of hours in a day. And so I was not willing to dedicate the time that they needed me for. So I said, no, thank you. And I'm very happy that I did, because it just reaffirms, you know, where I am with this program and with everyone here. And, you know, I think that's wonderful things to come. So it's okay to say no.
Yeah. I think that starts by having really good focusing questions, right? Because when you have that and you can say, okay, this is what the next 6 months or 12 months of my life is going to look like, because these are the highest priorities. This is the biggest rock that I have to push right now. Everything else, you just ask the question and say, does this align with where I want to go? Yes or no. If it does, great. Let's jump on board. I've got the time. Let's do it. If it doesn't, then you can just explain to people and say, listen, this is nothing personal. This is nothing against you. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. I just can't do that right now because this is my focus. And I think that also helps too with, you know, the amount of stuff that we take on. And it also allows us a little bit of freedom to have time for that self-care.
Yeah, and I think too, it also ties back into making your personal, you know, whether your business goals or your personal goals, it just really reaffirms the more personal that you make those, the more that you check in with those. I love the fact that Dorothy said that she checks in with her goals daily. I think that's so very important to do. Oftentimes we have big ideals and big goals, but we really don't take enough action on them to make sure that that pendulum is moving. And so to check in with yourself on a regular basis is so very important. And again, making those goals so like personal, and just again reminding yourself of your ultimate why really will help hit home for everybody.
Yeah, I love the micro goals and celebrating the crap out of those too. Right. So for me, I know that when I show two different buyers houses in a week, and I have one conversation about selling a house, when I do that every week, I'll sell 25 to 30 houses in a year. Right. I've broken that down to make it dead simple. So when I do that successful thing in a week, and I know that that's going to get me to my big goal, then I celebrate that. Right. I go out and have a coffee, or, you know, I do something that I wouldn't normally do as a treat to myself. And I think that that's a really important thing to do too. You know, if you have a stumbling block where you're like, okay, I know I really should be doing this lead generation or follow up or whatever it is, because you know it's an important component to your business and your life. Even if it's just saying, I'm going to set my calendar and I'm going to have that self-care time that I'm going to do for 20 minutes every day, or exercise, whatever it is, celebrate the crap out of that. That's a huge win. It might not feel like a big win because, you know, like going and lifting weights, you go do it once and you're like, okay, well, I'm not jacked, so screw it, I'm not going to do it anymore. But celebrate the fact that you just got up and you were there for it.
See, so I gotta change my mindset because I thought that 15 minutes of workout is just, oh, that's nothing.
No,
I
it's
should
great.
do more. But I haven't exercised in what, oh my God, years. So 15 minutes for me, it's tough.
Yeah. But I think too, like going from nothing to 15 minutes a day, that's a huge intentional step. And so to see that through and actually keep going with that. One thing that was told to me a while ago was start a brag book. So I have a book beside my desk, and anytime I get a compliment or anything that I feel good about me or my team, I actually write it in my brag book. And so those days where you're having like a really bad day or you just don't want to do something, I actually will pull that brag book out and I will remind myself of the good times so that it again, just to help shift my mindset into a more positive frame. And I know like being intentional with exercise and eating right, it sucks. It's hard. Like it's so easy to not do it and make excuses. So kudos to you for choosing to prioritize yourself.
And you know what? You're creating a new habit, right?
Yeah.
Just I think look at it that way. You're doing something that is different than what your usual routine was. You're creating a good positive habit. 15 minutes, an hour and a half doesn't matter, right? It's something that you can start with and it might grow in time. But celebrate the fact that, hell, I got up a half hour earlier and I did this thing for 15 minutes today. This is fantastic. Like, give yourself a big high five and a pat on the back. That's awesome.
Yep. Put that
If
in
you
your
started, I was to say, if you start trying to do it all at like the highest level from the start, typically you're not going to be successful.
No.
Like I'm on a sober journey, and it's like actually sometimes 1 minute at a time to like develop the habit and to stay on it. And it's not like I don't have to look and be like, okay, if it's this next day, it's if it's this next minute or hour or 2 hours or whatever that time frame is, right? So that's huge, because if you're like starting out, I didn't know what the journey was going to end up being like. And so I never told myself this is forever either, because that's such a big time frame. Now I would like it to be forever. That's the goal now. But at the beginning, I was like, where am I going with this? What does this look like? And it's like, again, just chunking it down and starting slow. Because if I had said from the beginning, never drinking again, then, and which was a common thing I said before that anyway, it never happened, right? It was just like, okay, for today, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And so it's the same kind of concept in my mind. That's how I, like with exercise, I did that too. Last year, I started with 15 minutes, and then it became 30, and then it was 45, and then it was from 3 days a week to 5 days a week. And it just built up gradually because I built the skill and like the habit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I wanted
you
it.
do
I
have to
wanted
build
it
that
after a
habit.
while. What's that?
You do have to build it. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like I will always want to be the 400-pound chick that eats every single thing in sight. I freaking love food. I got 4 boxes of Halloween candy that's been sitting downstairs
Yeah.
looking at me for the last month, and I have not touched a piece. It's too easy to give in.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes you have to take it a minute at a time. And that's not to say that we're all perfect. But I think that at the end of the day that we, throughout the course of our life, I guess we make better choices than bad choices. And so being mindful, I think just really, really helps in those decisions. Even just being mindful in the moment. And like, if you have to talk it through with yourself and be like, I really want this. I really want to have this right now. I'm going to go take a walk, or I'm going to go down.
Yeah. Cause a distraction, right?
Like you kind of have to like talk yourself off a ledge sometimes, but you do what you got to do to get through it so that you can live through the moment and celebrate.
Exactly. And that's it. And I think it's like you can do anything for 60 seconds, right? Like if you can tell yourself, like, I can, even if you started out 60 seconds jogging on the spot, can you do that? Like, can I do something for a short period of time? And it makes it that much easier, because it's like, oh, cool. Like that 60 seconds was great. Let's do another, right? And then you build it up in your stamina and your health, if that's the direction, right? And it's that 1% better that they're teaching in Bold now, this Bold 2.0 I did it last November. And that was a huge piece. Cause again, I'm like, I can't go from 0 to 100 houses, which I talked about at the beginning. It's, add 3 more, 5 more a year, whatever that looks like. Right. So
It's those little changes over time, the compound effect, right?
mhm.
It's almost impossible for somebody to be living a certain lifestyle and then wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to do everything 180 degrees different. That's not how it works. It's those little incremental changes where you say, I'm just going to walk 15 minutes a day and I'm just going to start there. And who knows, maybe in a month I'll be jogging. Maybe in 6 months I'll be jogging. Maybe in 6 months I'll still be walking 15 minutes a day. It's all good as long as I'm making those little changes.
Yeah.
And it's going to get me towards that big goal.
Agreed.
And it's the same whether it's in your personal life, whether it's a health journey, and same thing with your business too, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to wipe the slate clean and start from scratch. Start with where you are and just try to be 1% better today than you were yesterday. If you made 0 calls yesterday, make 1 call. You're 100% better today because you made 1 call. Right.
But what a great way to reframe your mindset. And even though we laugh about it, like it is a great way to switch your mindset on it and to help yourself be proud. We oftentimes will do a lot more because we feel pride in what we do, which is why we have a hard time saying no, because it makes us feel good, right? So it just keep going. I love where this call has gone today. I think talking about mindfulness is so important. It's something that we don't talk enough about on a daily basis. So I think that this call has been really, really amazing. But we are at the top of our hour and a half. So Michael, any final thoughts for this call?
I love you all.
Same here.
I wish I could
Love you
reach out and
guys.
give you all just a big giant hug right now. I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do one of these meetings in person and go get breakfast somewhere.
That'd be fun.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's, you know what? Why don't we set that up as a place marker maybe in December? Well, I don't know that we want to do the last Tuesday of December because that's probably going to be right around Christmas. But
maybe
why don't we
January.
do that where we actually get together as a group, go get breakfast somewhere and have a really awesome way to get together.
I think that'd be great.
Beautiful.
Great.
And then I can hug you all in person.
I would love that. I would, because Cheryl's a client of mine. I don't think I've ever actually seen her in person. So I would love to like actually wrap my arms around her.
We do it. Yeah.
And everybody else here. Okay. If there's no final questions, we're gonna bid you guys all a wonderful day. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing with us.
Yes.
We know it's not an easy thing to be vulnerable. So thank you all for sharing with us in this moment. And we wish you all a very happy Halloween, a very safe Halloween. And don't forget to watch out for kids on your way home because Lord knows they'll be out there. So have a wonderful day, everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye all.
Bye.